Over the past 3 decades, boxing's landscape has fundamentally shifted. Where once the sport was built around American slicksters and Mexican warriors, the fighters from the former Soviet Union have long since marked their arrival and dominance at the top levels of the sport. To understand how we got here, you need to go back to Helsinki, 1952.
This is Helsinki, Finland, modern capital of an ancient people, and 1952 host to the greatest of all athletic competitions, the Olympic Games.
When the Soviet team made their Olympic debut at the 1952 Games, the Cold War was in full swing, and sporting success meant victory in the eyes of the nation.
With the games almost over, the unofficial team race between America and Russia was so close that leadership depended on which newspaper you read. Boxing, with its 10 championships, could provide the decisive margin.
The Soviets came with a system, built through military discipline and state-sponsored programs. They didn't take home any gold in boxing that year, but they topped the medal table with 6 in total, across silver and bronze, announcing their arrival as a boxing superpower. Over the next 4 Olympic cycles, the Soviets racked up 12 golds, 9 silvers, and 7 bronzes, an incredible streak of excellence showcased through figureheads like Boris Lakutin, Valery Popachenko, and Vyacheslav Lemeshev. When Lemeshev won middleweight gold at the 1972 Munich Olympics, he did it using textbook Soviet style. A long, controlling jab mixed with a versatile long hook. Constant in and out movement to manipulate rhythm and distance. And a never-ending bounce, prioritizing landing power shots while on the move, or when your opponent comes to you. Of course, professional sports were illegal in the Soviet Union, viewed as a leisurely, capitalist-fueled impurity, so Lemeshev's accomplishments peaked in the amateur ranks. Still, Lemeshev's dominations over future American champions like Marvin Johnson and Michael Spinks served as warning signs. What would happen if the Soviet style escaped the Iron Curtain and hit the professional world stage? Fast forward to 1991, and the Soviet Union was on the brink of collapse. And Kostya Tszyu, a 21-year-old light welterweight from Russia's Ural Mountains, just won gold at the World Amateur Championships in Sydney. During his time in the Emerald City, the young boxer was captivated by the city, local boxing promoters, and a life that seemed just out of reach. But with the USSR's dissolution barely more than a month later, he immigrated to Australia and turned pro. And even though he had a new home, the refined Soviet system of his motherland remained. After all, Tszyu had been boxing full-time since childhood, accumulating 259 wins against only 11 losses, collecting a series of medals along the way. The USSR's boxing traditions were ingrained, and within 3 years of his pro debut, Tszyu had captured a world title and put professional Soviet-style boxing on the map, with his eye-catching speed, power, and timing. Fighting behind a probing lead hand, feinting with his full body, countering off the front foot, and always in position to follow up. Tszyu was an aggressive forward mover, utilizing subtle distance control with his lead foot and pawing jab to measure the opponent. And even though he was constantly at danger's edge, it was actually a key feature, since it lured opponents into his stunning punches. Against Zabjuda, Tszyu showed off how impactful and accurate the Soviet style can be. Even though Juda felt safe behind his rhythmic slaps and head movement, Tszyu detected a pattern. He tracked it, waited, and deactivated Juda's legs with a beautifully timed right. And it was no one-off. These punching mechanics separated him from any KO artist the sport had seen thus far. Everything flowed, as his upper body rotation and feet operated in sync. His loose arms and clenched fists meant that every shot connected like an explosive whip. Plus, leaning on the Soviet style's mobile footwork, Tszyu was rarely where you expected him to be, able to delight fans and devour opposition with surprise mid-combination shifts into southpaw. He was close enough to knock you out, but somehow too far to touch. By the time Tszyu retired in 2005, the Soviet style already had new representatives with distinct games. And as more former Soviet republics sent their fighters west, the number of world titles started to pile up. The Klitschko brothers dominated the heavyweight division with jabs and discipline. Gennady Golovkin brought his Kazakh-Mexican style to the middleweights. But when Sergey Kovalev burst onto the scene in 2013, he made people reconsider what a Soviet-style fighter was, thanks to a consciousness-shattering left hand. While all these fighters possessed powerful jabs, there was something different in the way Kovalev threw his. Fighters have been dropped by jabs before, though it's rare, but Kovalev was systematically hurting and knocking people down with his straight left. Full power, fight-ending jabs thrown with the same commitment as his right hand. The mechanics behind it embodied Soviet principles taken to the extreme for the power-punching focused professional ranks. Kovalev's jab started from his back leg, pushing through the kinetic chain, arriving like a pool cue, straight down the pipe with his full body weight behind it. Not only that, but his jab was so powerful that he used his rear hand to set it up, turning the 2-1 into a fight ender. Against Nathan Cleverly for the WBO title, Kovalev showcased a Soviet offensive system on the world stage, keeping him at the end of the jab, punishing him with long-range hooks and right hands, and blasting the Welshman out inside of 4 rounds. If Kovalev showed what the upper limits of Soviet power could achieve, Dmitry Bivol represents the style's complete picture. Hailing from Kyrgyzstan and born in 1990, Bivol accumulated over 280 amateur bouts before turning professional in 2014. The current unified light heavyweight champion, he is one of the most fundamentally sound boxers of this generation, and the modern poster child for the Soviet system. Everything developed since the 50s is on display in Bivol's performances. The constant in-and-out pendulum step that dictates range. The rhythmic weight shifts, effortlessly blending offense and defense. Every action coming from a mobile bounce, balanced and ready to explode. Despite his relatively bladed feet, Bivol's shoulders stay square. And when he throws his combinations, his hips and shoulders rotate together, generating whipping power through the entire chain, allowing him to rattle off seemingly endless barrages of leather. Plus, the way his upper and lower body move in a perfect harmony makes him a near impossible target. That same synergy allows him to throw from movement, rather than sitting down on his shots. And, most crucially, he can disguise his intentions and occupy his opponents with sheer volume and trickery as they keep defending the wrong targets. What began in Helsinki 70 years ago has become boxing's preeminent technical approach. The Soviet system took fundamental principles of amateur boxing: land more, land clean, and don't get hit, and mechanized it to produce a professional lineage unlike anything else. And as every generation and fighter has added their own spin on how it can adapt to the professional ranks, it somehow maintained a central core that can still be traced back to the Soviet sports scientists of the 40s and 50s. Their writings still holding strong as the foundation of possibly the most dominant fighting style of the 21st century.